This church is hiding a secret. These flagpoles aren't what they appear to be, but more about that soon. Well, wasn't that dramatic? This is St Margaret's Church in Altrincham, Cheshire, just to the south of Manchester. It's one of hundreds of churches that were being approached in the early to mid 2000s by mobile phone companies who wanted to increase their coverage. Churches are often a natural choice for hosting antennas, as many have tall towers or spires. At a time when health concerns in relation to mobile phone masts were reaching boiling point in some communities, and the thought of an eyesore of a mobile phone tower was taboo, the mobile phone companies began searching for new ways to conceal or blend them into the surrounding landscape. I've covered this in other videos which I'll link below, but disguised trees became a popular choice. Of course, the era of these high-cost sites was somewhat short-lived, as now we've grown to accept phone masts in our neighbourhoods, and most of them are met with little resistance these days. There's a great mutual benefit for both the church and the mobile phone company when the topic of hosting antennas and radio equipment comes up. The angle the phone companies go for is the benefit of improved connectivity in the local area. They'll tell you that they want to provide much needed support to public and community services, as well as the general public. They'll also go down the route of being able to provide internet connectivity within the church building, handy for anybody who gets bored during the service. And of course there's the income for the parish. The mobile phone company will pay a fee for renting out space where telecoms equipment sits, although these costs have plummeted drastically in recent years. The church was commissioned by George Harry Gray, 7th Earl of Stamford, and designed by architect William Haley. It was dedicated to the memory of Lord Stamford's sister Margaret, and construction began in 1851 and was completed in 1855. It's built from Yorkshire stone, and it's no surprise that this almost 170-year-old church is Grade 2 listed, meaning that any additional modern infrastructure has to be carefully planned and scrutinised before it can go ahead. Almost 25 years ago, the authorities here were accused of putting money before, quote, the health of parishioners, after agreeing to install mobile phone antennas inside the tower. Vodafone sought planning permission back in November 2000 for a telecommunications base station comprising of 6 antennas within the church tower and an equipment room within the crypt. At this time, the church already had a Mercury aerial on the tower installed in around 1997, and a British Telecom antenna installed on its flagpole in around 1995, which have since both been removed. The church argued that this was a great way of making money to assist with the upkeep of the building, and while a sum was never revealed specifically, average annual rent at a church at this time was around £5,000 per antenna, and in some cases considerably more. However, families living nearby claimed that St Margaret's was neglecting the potential health risk to local people in its pursuit of money. Numerous residents wrote to Trafford Council objecting the planning application from Vodafone, which proposed concealing 6 antennas behind panels within the tower. In 2006, the Vodafone equipment had been removed from the inside of the tower, and what was then T-Mobile UK took over. They installed 3 GSM panels on the side of the tower as part of their 2G and 3G setup here. By the end of the 2000s, the equipment room at St Margaret's contained 9 Ericsson RBS 205s, part of the first generation of Ericsson base stations for GSM. Each cabinet took 4 transceivers and had to be placed indoors. There was also a battery backup and 2 power supply units. By 2010, some changes were made at St Margaret's. The three antennas on the tower were replaced with four new GSM UMTS models, UMTS standing for Universal Mobile Telecommunications System, a third-generation mobile cellular system for networks based on the GSM standard. These were mounted on each side of the tower and painted black to blend in with the building style, and are quite difficult to see from ground level unless you actively try to spot them. There are different coverings made for these sorts of antennas, which better match them to the surrounding brickwork, such as this one at Broadstone Mill in Stockport. In 2011, T-Mobile installed a 300mm microwave link at the site for microwave backhaul. This is one of the most common wireless backhaul technologies in use today. It uses microwave frequencies to transmit data over the air. In simple terms, it enables the transportation of traffic, whether it's voice, video or data, between sites. Backhaul may include wired or fibre optic components too. We'll leave the cellular side of things here for now until I give you a detailed tour of what everything is, but first we need to look at the police system here. The government began the rollout of a new airwave radio system for emergency services back in 2001. Completed by the mid-2000s, this Tetra-based digital system that forms somewhat of a hybrid radio and cellular style network is the backbone of emergency service communications in the UK. St Margaret's was chosen in the early 2000s as a host for an airwave setup. This would allow increased radio coverage across the relatively flat town of Altrincham and a view over the nearby ridge of land that forms Oldfield Brow. Not much has changed since the rollout, so we'll start our detailed tour of the current roof setup here. I've annotated this photograph of the roof and we'll work our way around in a clockwise direction. Top centre is the police airwave antenna made by Amphenol. Just below is a GPS mushroom antenna which is used for timing. This keeps transmissions from multiple sites in perfect synchronization. Next is the EE microwave link for cellular backhaul, and then the first of four cellular panels. They each have a breakout box and a transceiver, or remote radio unit. Then we come to the first of what appears to be two WISP antennas. A WISP is an ISP that uses wireless technology to provide internet services to homes or businesses. At the bottom right is the microwave link for the police airwave setup, which carries data and voice to and from Broadstone Mill in Stockport. Somewhere in here is the reciprocal link heading back to St Margaret's, over 8 miles away. Moving around you can see the EE cable box which allows feeders to pass through the roof. You can also see another EE panel, another WISP antenna, and the exit box for the airwave feeders. There's also an access hatch to allow engineers onto the roof. On the left is another EE panel with its breakout box and remote radio unit. Then I've highlighted one of 4 lightning finials to protect the equipment and building from a lightning strike. And finally the cable trays which keep the feeders and wires nice and tidy. So now we'll head just 0.6 of a mile south to the Church of St Mary over in Bowdon. This is a more covert site and passers-by would probably never guess that there's antennas up on the tower. The presence of a church on this site was noted in the Domesday Book. It's believed that a new church was built between the 14th century and remodelled in the 16th century. The church was completely rebuilt between 1858 and 1860 by W.H. Braxpear, although the 16th century roofs of the aisles were retained and incorporated into the new structure. Built in pink and red Runcorn sandstone, the Church of St Mary is also Grade 2 listed, meaning a lot of scrutiny and red tape when it comes to adding radio antennas and their supporting equipment. Things began here in November 1984, when the flagpole on top of the tower was replaced with a new 25-foot fiberglass pole, except this one was different. It housed a UHF antenna inside that was placed on the church to improve police radio coverage in the area as part of the mass migration to VHF and UHF back in the mid to late 1980s. The latter half of 1996 saw the analogue mobile phone operator Orange erect 2 dummy flagpoles on the roof as well as a microwave link. The flagpoles would house UHF antennas to provide coverage within the local area. The equipment for the police and mobile phone systems were concealed behind these vents in the clock tower. Orange upgraded their equipment here to 2G sometime around the early 2000s, and in 2009 a new 3G setup was rolled out. Orange and T-Mobile merged in 2010, and that became EE in 2012. 2014 saw the replacement of the microwave link and flagpole antennas as the mobile phone networks continually evolved, but the site has always remained covert, without much visible change from the outside. So let's look at the current setup. Top centre is the flagpole that conceals the police airwave antenna. I can't find any evidence that this is still in use as an airwave site today, and there's no evidence of microwave backhaul here either. Moving round, you can see the omnidirectional EE flagpole antenna and the EE microwave link. Unlike St Margaret's, the rest of the cellular infrastructure is hidden away inside the tower. Towards the bottom we come to the cable exit box and one of 4 lightning finials. Cable trays are fitted to the wall of the tower to keep things tidy, and we finish on the other EE omnidirectional flagpole. From the ground or at a distance, the average passerby would probably never notice this well-disguised radio site, but nothing gets past Ringway Manchester. So we'll leave this one here. If you'd like more church antenna and other hidden transmitter site videos, then let me know, I've got plenty more to cover. If you'd like to see my playlist on transmitter site tours, I'll link it below. And until next time, keep your eyes to the sky, or at least to the rooftops.